10 years of Health Watch, but what else have we been doing? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Terrence Affer Anderson, and welcome to this very special edition of Health Watch. Our faithful viewers know that about this time every year we do a retrospective special, taking a brief look at clips from every edition of the show that we've brought you over the last 12 months. Well, next year we will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Health Watch. As a monthly television program, that means that we've already produced well more than 100 editions of the show, bringing you important, insightful information on a vast array of health topics, featuring expert medical, social services, educational, and community professionals. We've covered topics as broad and as diverse as holiday depression, family caregiving, HIV and AIDS, teen pregnancy prevention, influenza, poison prevention, sports injuries, prostate cancer, sickle cell anemia, and cardiovascular disease, to name just a few. Our guests have featured the likes of Virginia's 3rd District U.S. Congressman Bobby Scott, Virginia Health Commissioner Dr. Karen Rimley, 6th District Virginia State Senator Dr. Ralph Northam, the President of Fort Norfolk Plaza Cardiology Associates, cardiologist Keith Newby, the Medical Director of the Norfolk Community Health Center, Dr. Angela Mercer, and John Skirvin, Chief Executive Officer, Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia, again to name just a few. We've even featured a clip from the Oscar-winning movie The King's Speech, graciously provided to us by the producers, the Weinstein Company. The topic was stuttering for that edition of Health Watch, and the movie was based on a true story of how King George VI conquered his own stuttering. The King's Speech won 4 Oscars earlier this year, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Male Actor in a Leading Role, and Best Screenplay. As you can see, we have been very busy indeed. As we reflect over the last 10 years, we wanted to thank the people who have played an essential role in bringing Health Watch to you, and to also share some of the other projects that we brought you along the way. Health Watch is produced by the Health Promotion Office of the Norfolk Department of Public Health and the City of Norfolk Office of Communications in the studios of our good friends here at WHRO-TV. The program was jointly developed by myself and the original producer, Thursa Crittenden, but has morphed and has continued to be expertly produced for many years now by Norfolk Neighborhood Network, the Triple N station manager, Brett Hillett, and line producer, Michelle Gabriel, who also does my makeup. There's a host of people at WHRO who make Health Watch happen. These include Mark Burnett, Director of Production and Enterprise Media Services, Production Manager Greg Carter, directors who have included Robert Pittman and Cindy Party, audio engineer Al Sykes, and a talented group of master control, camera, lighting, and teleprompter personnel. As for me, I am a health promotion educator in the Norfolk Department of Public Health's Office of Health Promotion. So what else does the health department do to deliver important health messages? Well, in cooperation with many local producers, to include the Triple N and WHRO, we have produced a number of public service announcements, documentaries, and innovative special projects. It is the latter two that we will focus on today. We're going to take a look at some of my personal favorites. When I first started working at the Norfolk Department of Public Health, I ran a community-based fatherhood program, one designed to highlight and support the important role that fathers play in their children's lives, including their health care. Eventually, I was invited to speak at the Norfolk City Jail. That one presentation would evolve into an ongoing program reaching hundreds of incarcerated men and women, parents, at the Norfolk City Jail, the Hampton Roads Regional Jail, and the St. Bride's Correctional Center. Early on, I realized that there was an important story that needed to be told. The community at large needed to know the experience of incarcerated parents, and newly released men and women needed to be reminded that they were now being presented with an opportunity to play a more active role in their children's lives. So, having already authored a number of stage plays, I wrote the 5th, the story of 5 generations of men, all named Thurgood Joshua Tate, and all impacted by the repeated incarceration of one father. Much to my delight, the National Center for Strategic Nonprofit Planning and Community Leadership heard of the 5th and invited us to perform it at the first International Fatherhood Conference held in San Francisco in 1999. The production went exceedingly well, and when we returned, the City of Norfolk and a producer from WHRO arranged for this one-act play to be videotaped. It has been frequently aired by the Triple N when it eventually became the centerpiece of a curriculum I developed for incarcerated parents. So that is going to be the first video clip that we're going to look at today. It features Lucius Bennett as Papa T, myself as Goody, well-known local actor, producer, director Michael Amell as TJ, and my nephew, Adrian Mabin as T5, Thurgood Joshua Tate V, the title character. Let's take a peek.
See the boy there? That boy marks the 5th generation of Tate men. Thurgood Joshua Tate V. Everything that is me, my daddy, your daddy, and you is poured into that boy. Your great-grandfather was a stevedore. Worked hard all his life, pennies and hours, to take care of 5 kids. He taught me, and I watched him, and I learned. He taught me to work hard and take care of family. He taught me to be the same. And I thought I was doing the same for your daddy. Somehow, I guess I fell short. I forgot that while earning money for home, I also needed to work hard at being a daddy. Sometimes I'd cut 30, 40 heads a day, working 12 hours a day to earn enough money for home. I thought that was taking care of family. TJ. But while I was busy making money for the home, your daddy was out playing house and breaking into homes. By the time I had already found out what was going on, he had already shaped himself into what he was going to be. He did it without my hands. You see, that's the difference between your great-granddaddy and me. Oh, he was an artist when it came to being a daddy. He was a sculptor. He sculpted me. Like your daddy, I poured the clay, but I forgot to mold it. By the time I found out what was going on, he had already shaped himself into what he was going to be by the examples of others. I wasn't there, so he sought the examples of others. You're right. T5 needs to learn to fend for himself. But don't you ever be so busy providing you forget to be a daddy.
Hey, Pop. How you doing?
I guess all that time in prison done finally turned you into a woman.
TJ!
It's okay, Pop. I guess this is your way of saying hi to your daddy.
No, man, they ain't saying hi to you. Ain't got nothing to say to you, all right? Nothing.
That's your daddy, TJ.
He ain't nothing to me, Papa T. Nothing. He ain't nothing but a faded memory trying to live again. Look, man, once you're dead, you can't just come back to life, all right?
The National Center for Strategic Nonprofit Planning and Community Leadership would ask me to do another presentation for their 4th Annual International Fatherhood Conference held in Washington, D.C. in 2003. For that presentation, I turned the 5th into a full-length drama, one that would eventually feature Hollywood actress Dawn Lewis. As it happens, I have actually authored 22 plays, stage dramas that often address topical health issues and produce as innovative tools that assist the Norfolk Department of Public Health in delivering impactful, potent health messages. Just a few years after the 5th, I got another such opportunity and wrote a play that explored the experiences of people living with HIV and AIDS. The play was entitled The Silent Six, a courtroom drama produced at the Old Dominion University Technology Theater, shot by gifted videographer and producer Ted Heck and the talented team at Heck Productions, and produced in association with the Urban League of Hampton Roads, the International Black Women's Congress, and Stage Norfolk. The clip that you will see features Adrian Johnson, a very dear friend of mine who was not HIV positive, but who died in a tragic auto accident a short time later. I ask that you please take notice.
For fear of ridicule, I didn't tell a soul what was going on. I just kept to myself and managed to put up a good front. Obviously, I found good medical care, but not even my doctor knew how distraught I was. I couldn't keep the secret forever, though. Somehow people on my job found out, then people at my church. I was a soloist in the church choir, and I conducted Sunday school. Well, I lost my job. Employers felt they could do that back in those days. Then I was asked to leave the church.
As I prepared for this special edition of Health Watch and came upon the clip you just saw, seeing Adrienne again for the first time in a few years, I have to tell you it was an emotional experience. She was such an avid and impassioned community activist. Next up is another project that is very dear to me. Having lost a 4-month-old son, Terrence Jr., many years ago, in 2007 I was commissioned by the Virginia Department of Health, Virginia Healthy Start Initiative, to write, produce, and direct a documentary that will counsel men who are grieving the loss of their infant children. The project would be entitled Giving Angels Wings, and it featured 4 fathers, Christian Smith, Tommy Holland, Leon Sankofa, and Joel Lokema. It won the 2007 People's Choice Award for Best Documentary at the inaugural edition of the Mid-Atlantic Black Film Festival and has been brought to you numerous times by the Triple N. Giving Angels Wings was produced by Ron Clark and the Virginia Fatherhood Campaign and shot and edited by Ted Heck and Heck Productions. The clip that you are about to see features the opening sequence, including heartfelt reflections by the grieving fathers. Here it is. Each new life springs forth from a seed and is nurtured by time and destiny until it blossoms into a remarkable, unique miracle. When a father, the seed bearer, suffers the death of his child, his miracle, and his grief and mourning goes untreated, it can erupt into a debilitating rage, completely void of any resolution. This program is designed to enlighten you on the experience of the grieving father, to help you find the tools that will allow him to symbolically give wings to the soul of his departed angel, as well as give wings to his grief and mourning. The death of a child is a devastating thing. Whether through miscarriage, stillbirth, sudden infant death syndrome, or any tragedy that leaves a parent with empty arms, the emptiness never leaves. For the grieving father, frequently perceived as a parent scarcely in need of counseling and considerations following the loss of a child, much of the grieving and mourning is done in silence and self-imposed emotional isolation.
Once our baby girl was delivered, we did spend about 3 hours with her. We held her. And in my opinion, what has gotten through me is I have a little sense of satisfaction knowing that I had a daughter, or I have a daughter. Her name's Madison Lee. I've had a chance to hold her, and that's something that no one could ever take from me.
When he died, I became really numb. It didn't affect me until about probably 6 months to a year later.
I didn't know what to do. I know my wife was really hurting, and she didn't think I maybe cared as much as she cared, and that's just, it wasn't true. I do care, and I was hurting also.
When Sorrell passed, no one was there who loved him. No one was there to hold his hand. No one was there to touch his forehead. And I wake up every day knowing that.
I'm very pleased to tell you that all of the fathers that you just saw, while still touched by the loss of their children, have been able to move on with a genuine measure of peace. In fact, for Christian Smith, the last father featured, who lost his son Sorrell, being involved in Giving Angels Wings proved to be an exquisite, very timely catharsis. While working on the project, his wife was pregnant, and they later welcomed another beautiful baby into the world. In 2009, we partnered with dynamic videographer, producer Ken Wright of Genesis 7 Media, WGBS TV 7, as well as the Norfolk Recreation Parks and Open Space Aquatics Division, to produce a drowning prevention and water safety video. Targeting area teenagers, the project was entitled Waterline Teens, Keeping Heads Above Water. The video was made possible by the Virginia Department of Health Center for Injury and Violence Prevention, and you've seen it as well on the Triple N. Featuring people who have had some horrific acquaintance with a drowning or near-drowning experience. Waterline Teens also featured former Norfolk Tides catcher Matt Wieters, who moved on to the majors with the Baltimore Orioles, as spokesperson for the project. Waterline Teens also highlighted some very noteworthy drowning prevention tips provided by co-producer Dan Jones, Division Head, Norfolk Aquatics and Recreational Water Activities, and his team of lifeguards. We're going to start with statistical information that will illustrate the importance of water safety, and then share some useful tips on how to recognize someone who may be drowning. Here goes. In 2006, there were 110 deaths due to drowning in Virginia. More than half, 54% of these deaths were in natural bodies of water, rivers, lakes, and the bay. Males are 3 times more likely to drown than females. Virginians aged 15 to 24 experience the highest number of fatal drownings in the state. And if you don't know how to swim,
imagine yourself with your arms tied behind your back and your legs bound. Because, I mean, that's how it felt for me, because I didn't know how to swim. I was kicking and I was screaming.
I heard about her death on the news, and it was very, very traumatic for me. I remember standing in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, and hearing her name come across the news, and then screaming and hollering.
The water was so deep, it just made a ploop sound. So then I knew I was in real trouble as I looked up at the ceiling of the water.
My son was Josh. Josh was 16 years old, and he drowned on a lake in Michigan.
First, we'll take a look at the breathing. This is a good swimmer who is not in distress. Notice that his breathing is rhythmic and even. Now, watch a distressed swimmer's breathing. She can continue breathing and may also call out for help. Now, an active drowning victim, they are struggling to breathe and cannot call out for help. This is a passive drowning victim. This person is unconscious and not breathing. But what about arm and leg motion? How does it differ between a swimmer in no distress and the various levels of swimmer in serious trouble? The good swimmer, who is not in distress, has relatively coordinated movement. His arm and leg movements are well coordinated and unencumbered. Now notice the difference in the distressed swimmer. She is floating, sculling, and treading water, and is able to call out for help. Not so in the case with the active drowning victim. His arms are to his side, alternating, moving up and pressing down. He can't support himself by kicking. Our passive drowning victim has no arm or leg movement at all.
Gets your attention, doesn't it? Would you know what to do? The Norfolk Department of Public Health has a long, rich tradition of prolific community efforts, programs, and activities designed to increase awareness of current and routine issues so that we might enhance and improve the quality of the public health. As such, I have collaborated with myriad professional and community agencies. In that role, I served for several years as the public marketing chair of the American Cancer Society's Southampton Roads African American Men's Health Forum. For the 2010 African American Men's Health Forum, we partnered again with videographer and producer Ken Wright and the team at Genesis 7 Media for a special edition of Health Watch entitled Periscope. Next up is a clip from that project. It features Virginia 3rd District U.S. Congressman Bobby Scott. Let's take a peek. Talking with 3rd District U.S. Congressman Bobby Scott. Congressman Scott, what's bringing you out here today?
Well, this is a very important issue. Healthcare, as you know, we just passed a major healthcare bill, and the kinds of things that are going on here will be addressed by the healthcare bill, one of which is that everybody can afford insurance. There'll be no exclusion because you have a pre-existing condition, and once you have insurance, you'll be able to get your checkups without a copay and no deductible. So this is exactly the kind of issue that the screenings that are taking place today, the fact that people here today may not have insurance, exactly the kinds of problems that we addressed with the health care bill.
Every year when we do this, we attract well over 400 men. What are your thoughts on the number of people that you see running around here today?
Well, many of them do not have insurance, and it's this kind of opportunity that they have to get screened, to ascertain whether or not they have problems, and to see a doctor. After the health care bill becomes fully implemented, they'll be able to buy insurance. And second, they'll be able to access any of the preventive treatments that they need without copay or deductible. Everybody will be able to afford insurance. It's a historic piece of legislation bordering on Medicare and Social Security.
I'd like to ask you another question, and we can do this off the record, and I promise that if you choose, that we will do it that way. But what do you think of the Tea Party reaction to the health care reform bill? Because that is a big part of their own platform.
Well, I think a lot of people support it, and some people opposed it. And I think if you look at what we did, it's paid for without a deficit. In fact, it runs a huge surplus. Everyone can have insurance. The fact is now that the status quo was unsustainable. Healthcare costs were going out of control. All of our long-term budget problems were healthcare. When you look at the portion of your income going to insurance, people were going broke. Businesses were not being able to afford it. We had to do something. Those that opposed it did not come up with any alternatives. And in fact, if you look at what, so you're stuck with what you got. We have a very modest plan. It wasn't the single-payer plan that I supported. It wasn't even the public option that I also supported. We have a plan to make sure that everybody can afford insurance.
I was very honored to be able to interview Congressman Scott for that special edition of Health Watch, as well as WVEC-TV Channel 13's morning news anchor LaSalle Blanks and Mark Wallace on the Star 1310 Gospel Radio. The very last clip we will show you today would actually be a collection of 3 brief segments from another special project that I hold dear. Having for a number of years assisted the American Cancer Society of Southampton Roads, staging the African American Men's Health Forum, focusing on the importance of early detection of prostate cancer, I began in 2010, having been diagnosed with the disease myself. But like many other men who have personally benefited from early detection, I have a great prognosis and have suffered no ill effects. In fact, shortly after I had radioactive seeds implanted, a procedure known as brachytherapy, and I'm today essentially cancer-free. So I became an impassioned advocate for early detection, and Health Watch, of course, proved a potent tool to deliver that message. Shortly after completing the special Periscope edition of Health Watch, I began developing a project entitled Full Court Press. It would feature a basketball game featuring old school ball players aged 40 and up when men should begin testing for prostate cancer, and the young bloods, ballers aged 39 and under. The game also featured interviews with medical and educational professionals, as well as a prostate cancer survivor. It was also attended by people who had been otherwise touched by the disease. The clip includes the opening sequence, followed by an excerpt from a presentation by Charlie W. Hill, a founder and the president of the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum, and concludes with a brief portion of my interview with Dr. Mark Fleming, an oncologist with Virginia Oncology Associates. Sit back and enjoy the game and the information.
I'm a ball hard, he can't take me. I'm a crossover and break your ankles. I'm a highlight. Now watch me shine, watch me shine, watch me shine.
What would you do if it happened to you? If by your own doing you left your loved ones behind, then knowing that you could have done something to stop it, if only you had taken a few simple steps, what would you do?
Gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you about a subject that's very important to me. It's called prostate cancer. The reason that it is important to me is that I am living with prostate cancer. And I emphasize that I am living with prostate cancer. The significance of prostate cancer is that the cancer starts in the prostate gland, and it can grow outside of the gland. The real challenge for all of us who are faced with prostate cancer is that there are 2 kinds of cancer. One that may be described like a domesticated puppy. The other is like a raging wolf. The problem is you don't know which one you have until it's detected. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you today is that the highest risk group in the world for prostate cancer is African American men. The highest risk group is African American men. One of the things we'd like for you to do is be aware of that and begin to think about learning more about prostate cancer and what you can do to protect yourself. The first thing you can do is understand more about how the prostate gland impacts your life and how it can be treated if in fact you have an enlarged prostate or worse, prostate cancer. The thing that I'd like to also emphasize to you is early stage prostate cancer does not have any symptoms. So if you are sitting around waiting to have a symptom, you may be waiting too late and may be putting yourself in jeopardy. I emphasize, early stage prostate cancer does not have any symptoms. The other part of the message that I want you to really embrace is when you are treated for prostate cancer, you have to be very careful in selecting those persons who work with you. It is important that you, the man, be treated as well as the disease.
Someone is diagnosed with prostate cancer. It generally is a team that takes care of them, a urologist and an oncologist as well as their attending physician. I'm very delighted to have join me now Dr. Mark Fleming of Virginia Oncology Associates. Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
Pretty good. You enjoying the game?
I am. Good game.
Good. I got a question for you. When someone is diagnosed with prostate cancer, they get a Gleason score, okay, and they're also given a level of cancer, which defines the stage of cancer that they have. Can you tell us a little bit about the Gleason score and the T levels?
Yeah. So the Gleason score is a guide that lets us know the level of aggressiveness of the prostate cancer. It's a number between 1 and 5. 1 being the least aggressive, 5 being the most aggressive. And we don't typically call anything less than 3 prostate cancer. The analogy I give is you might be driving down the highway and you're going 56 miles per hour. You're technically speeding, but no one pulls you over. So that's why the 1 and 2 are there. Gleason 3 disease, then we take the, there can be different types of population of cancer cells under the microscope. And so we give the first 2 most common populations. So it's a combined score of 4 plus 3 would be a Gleason 7. And that suggests how aggressive the disease is. Gleason 8, 9, or 10 is what we call high-risk disease. And that will prompt doctors to say what treatments you can or cannot have.
Well, that's it. I want to thank you for joining me as I've taken this stroll down memory lane. It is only because of the efforts of such visionary, dedicated professionals, such as Dr. Demetria Lindsay, Director of Norfolk Health District, Dwayne Merritt, Director of the Office of Health Promotion, Norfolk Department of Public Health, and my good friend Brett Hillett, Station Manager of the Triple N, the Norfolk Neighborhood Network, and the Executive Producer of Health Watch, that we are able to bring you this very important health information program. But more importantly, we want to thank you for tuning in. I often run into you in my travels around Hampton Roads and always find your words and support invigorating, encouraging, and insightful. But stay tuned. We're going to do something quite groundbreaking for the very next edition of Health Watch. We're going to have an hour-long special that will include an invited live studio audience who will have the opportunity to ask questions. The topic, family caregiving. Interested? Remember, you can watch previous editions of Health Watch online at www.norfolk.gov/TV48. You can also call me at 757-683-8836. Again, that's 757-683-8836. For the Norfolk Department of Public Health, I'm Terrence Affer Anderson, and this has been Health Watch.